Before you joined the Make Peace with Food community and started to work on your nervous system, what was your relationship with food like?
I grew up in a very much like diet culture. All of our moms were on like the Slim Fast or Weight Watchers, and the goal was to, lose as much weight or be as thin as possible. And it was cool when I was in high school to like not eat for days. In college, it was very, stressful time. And that's, I think, where I developed my using food to cope with stress and emotions and everything. After my second child was born, I developed like postpartum anxiety, depression. I knew at that time, like I had to do something. I was like sneaking food. I was hiding wrappers. I gained all my weight back, and it felt like everything I did was for absolutely nothing. When I found Sherry and I found the program, a reason why, like, oh, this looks interesting, and I had saved and I went back and found them, and I was like, oh, this is what's going on. This feels right. This is what I need to do, and it's completely changed everything. It's been like I've been able to pull myself out of that fight or flight, calm my nervous system down, and like get back to feeling like me again.
I want to welcome somebody very, very special. And this is my friend Paige. I'm going to welcome her to join me today. Paige is somebody I believe who joined the Make Peace with Food community. I think, when was that, Paige? When did you join?
I think end of September of last year.
End of
So
September of
like
last
four
year.
months or
4 months.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Paige it's interesting because, well, first, she's a badass. Okay. She's a mirror, really. So many things about me I actually see in her, like things I recognize right away. Personality type, that fiery, like get things done type personality, don't know how to rest type A. And then also she's a physiotherapist and I'm a DO and an athletic therapist. And then I've also been in the health and fitness space for a while. So has she. I've done a lot of different diets and challenges, and so has she. And so we kind of came together on a very similar sort of level in terms of, yes, we've been in the fitness space and our struggles are a little bit different. And so she joined the community and she just always has something so powerful to share. But I wanted to share her journey with you because it's very inspiring. So Paige, thank you so much for coming on today. And let me ask you this. Before you joined the Make Peace with Food community and started to work on your nervous system, what was your relationship with food like?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. My relationship with food, I grew up in a very much like diet culture. Like I remember as a little kid, like all of our moms were on like the Slim Fast or Weight Watchers, and the goal was to, lose as much weight or be as thin as possible. And it was cool when I was in high school to like not eat for days. And my just a little bit of like my backstory that I've really was not aware of until I started this program, honestly. And it's all kind of coming together now. As a child, the environment I grew up in was very much like, don't cry, be a good little girl, kind of bury your emotions. It was a lot about like getting praise for achievements. So I always had to get straight A's and be the best at everything and get like over 100% on every test that I took because I was just striving for that praise from my parents. And so that kind of at a very young age set the tone of having that like perfectionist mindset, that all or nothing mindset. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, as a teenager growing up, it was very much like diet culture. Like we would follow celebrities and they were skin and bones. That's what you would see in the magazines. And everybody was just trying to be teeny tiny. And then I went off to college and I was on my own and I could eat whatever I wanted. And nobody was watching what I ate or drank. And like most people put on a lot of weight in college, it was very, stressful time. And that's, I think, where I developed my using food to cope with stress and emotions and everything. I developed a lot of my bad habits, I think, in college, but I didn't know at the time or didn't realize because everybody was doing it. It was the norm, to like snack while you studied and then binge drink and then eat pizza for breakfast and all of that. So, and then after college, I got married, became a mom. I have two young kids now, they're 5 and 8. And after my second child was born, I developed like postpartum anxiety, depression. And then that very same year was the start of COVID. And so it was just a really hard year for everyone. But I knew at that time, like I had to do something, and my food habits were out of control. I was basically living off of like Caribou, like the really sugary drinks, and like fast food, pizza, beer, anything that was quick and not what we would consider healthy. And so I joined a gym because as a physical therapist, I knew like exercise does wonders for the body and the mind, and I thought I could heal my anxiety and my depression if I would just work out like I taught all of my patients to do. And I needed to start, practicing what I preach. So right there, it tells you it's very much extreme. It's one of those gyms where you like it's all or nothing. You go as hard as you can. You try to lose as much weight as you can in as short amount of time as possible. There's prize money for the winners who can lose the most body fat the fastest. There were all these challenges going on all the time. And that is where I found like calorie counting and macro counting and started getting really restrictive with everything and weighing my food and stepping on the scale that would measure my body fat, my muscle mass, and tracking all of that. And I figured out, wow, I have like control. I felt like in my first time in my life I had control over something. And I like control. So I just got really into it and I did challenge after challenge, and over time it just made the whole binge restrict cycle so much worse. But you don't really see it when you're in it. So it was a lot of, restricting really hard for like 8 to 10 weeks and losing as much weight as we could. And then maybe winning first place, second place, getting a little cash money. And then in between the challenges, binging on all the things that I had removed from my diet. And so that was very unhealthy, that those cycles started to get worse and worse. And I got to a point where I was at like a healthy weight and I was actually starting to feel confident and happy with my body weight and everything and what I was able to do in the gym. But I still wasn't like satisfied. I felt like I needed more. And I felt like I needed to like achieve something more because I wasn't getting what I was looking for. Because I grew up with that, give it your all and get all of the straight A's and everything. And so that you can get praise from other people, that like external reward or whatever. And so I decided, in addition to the gym, which I was going to 6 days a week and eating healthy whole foods, I had cut out most like sugars and processed foods and things like that. In addition to all of that, I decided to take on the 75 hard challenge. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it is 75 days of the most restrictive thing ever. You have to work out twice a day and they have to be 45 minutes apiece. One of them has to be outside. So even if it's like snowing or raining or freezing, you have to stick to a very strict diet and you can't have even a bite of anything that is off that diet. If you do, you fail. And that was a big term that was used. You don't want to fail the 75 challenge. You have to drink a gallon of water every day. You have to read 10 pages in a book every day. And then you have to take a selfie every single day. And you have to do all of those things every single day for 75 days, even if you're sick and dying. And if you miss a day, you fail. And so I did it and I was very proud of myself. I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And I just felt so good. I had so much confidence that I actually made it through and everybody was congratulating me like, oh my gosh, you look so good. Holy crap, you lost so much weight. Are you going to do like a bodybuilding competition next? And like, I was just getting all this attention. And that lasted for like a week. And then all of a sudden, I didn't know like who I was anymore. And I'm not even kidding, for 2 months straight following the end of that 75 hard challenge, was a straight binge for me. For 2 solid months. I was never full. I was never satisfied. I was constantly like just starving. I felt like my nervous system had just totally shut down. The whole thing is a blur. Again, I didn't even see it until that 2 months kind of fizzled out. And then I was like, holy crap, what happened? It was just all a blur. I was constantly in that fight or flight. I was doing things that I had never done before. I was like sneaking food. I was hiding wrappers. I had to bring my kid to soccer, which is like an hour of my time. You leave the house, you go to soccer for 1 hour, and then you come home. Like normal me would have been like, okay, I'm not hungry, I'll eat when I get back or whatever, maybe bring a snack with. But I had to like binge eat as much as I could before we left for soccer because I was so terrified leaving my house where there was food. And then we'd go to soccer and I'd have snacks with me. Maybe I'd eat them, maybe not, but and then binge again when I got home because of that food scare. I had like literally set myself up with that imposed food scarcity that we've talked about. And again, I didn't even see it or know that it was happening until after the fact. But anyways, it was all a blur, and I gained all my weight back, and it felt like everything I did was for absolutely nothing. And then that same month or the very next month is when I found Sherry and I found the program, and it was just like such a blessing because I think there I had emails from her and her program like sitting in my inbox that I had saved without really a reason why, like, oh, this looks interesting. And I had saved for I don't know how many months. And I went back and found them and I was like, oh, this is what's going on. This feels right. This is what I need to do. And so yeah, then I started in end of September of last year. And it's completely changed everything. It's been like I've been able to pull myself out of that fight or flight and calm my nervous system down and like get back to feeling like me again.
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow. Wow. Thank you for being so brave and vulnerable and for sharing all that. And as you're talking, like, I'm like, oh my God, she's like talking about me. Like everything that you said, I'm so familiar with. And it was even just the compliments, right? Even what you just said, having achieved that and everyone's like, oh my God, you look so great. And wow. And all these things. And I know for me, even as a coach, I used to feel so much shame around that because I should be this role model or I should be telling people this. And I felt so incredibly out of integrity because I was doing the exact opposite. And I probably shared this with you before. I mean, my line in the sand moment where it was this one moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm literally going to kill myself with food. Like, I can't even believe it. I'm going to kill myself with food. Like, I can't stop eating. And I know I should stop. I'm feeling so full. I know I should stop. Why can't I stop? Like there's this thing that gets turned on in the brain and no amount of rationale can actually get it to stop. And one of the things that you shared recently on the community call was, I think you came back from a trip with your friends and you were sharing about how it was so completely different. So maybe if you're open to just to sharing that, I'd love to
yeah.
hear a little bit more about that too.
Sure. Yeah. So ever since I can remember, any vacation we had ever gone on, especially if it was like a girls' trip, everybody just kind of did this. We would go on a diet before vacation. That was kind of like the normal thing you would do. You would try to drop 10 pounds. You'd have this goal date in mind of like, okay, I got to lose the weight before I go on my cruise or whatever. So I look good in a swimsuit. And then you eat everything when you're on vacation. And then you come back and you feel like total garbage. And then when the next vacation comes, you kind of do it again. And so I had always done that. And this past vacation that I went on with my girlfriends about a month ago was the first vacation I had taken since starting this program. And it was like total 180. Like I did not restrict myself at all leading up to vacation. I was working on all of the things that I try to do every day now, practicing my gratitude and remaining present and working on my breathing and working through my emotions leading up to the vacation. And then I went on vacation and I like was not even tempted to eat out of my normal type of food. Like I try to stick to mostly whole foods, a lot of protein, vegetables, fruit, like just real food that tastes good. And that's what I was choosing when we went out to all these amazing restaurants. And everybody that I was with was like, all right, I can finally have this fried chicken and these, cocktails with all this sugar and none of that sounded good. Even like ice cream, we went to this place that was famous for their ice cream that would have like a line of people out the door. It wasn't even a thought in my mind that like I was going to get a thing of ice cream. I was like, I want to taste it. I wonder what it tastes like. It was that curiosity, but I knew that if I ate a whole tub of dairy, I would feel sick and I didn't want to feel that way. And so sure enough, everybody that I was with got these giant ice cream sandwiches and I had a bite of like everybody's and I felt totally like calm and satisfied and it didn't like trigger anything. And I was just like so at peace the whole time I was on vacation. And then when I got back, I thought, I wonder if I was like subconsciously restricting or if I was actually truly at peace. So when I got back from vacation, it was just like seamless into my life and I just kept eating the way that I wanted to eat. And it was like, no, that really was like safety mode. I was feeling really good.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. Thank you again, Paige. And
Thanks.
enjoying having you on here this week.
Thank you.